A.R.E.S. Extinction Agenda EX is a game I originally saw with excitement, and all it's done since has caused me a headache. You see, I like the original A.R.E.S. a lot, in fact. It has been in my favorite section of Steam for a while now, so hearing a redone version of the game is coming out and those original owners getting a discount, I was pumped. The original game got mediocre scores all around the net, and I remember wondering at the time why. So coming into this review, I thought I'd have the chance to jump up or down and point to people saying, hey, this is your second chance, don't screw this up again, buy this game. And so I bought the game and started playing it, and that's where things started to take a turn. Making a game can work, and there have been several games that have redone it well over the years. However, playing through the EX version, all I could think to myself is, man, was this really how the original A.R.E.S. was played? Well, luckily I still have the original game, and played through a level again just to be sure that I wasn't crazy. And sure enough, there were differences as they advertise it as such. There are differences other than graphics here, and some are for the better, but some are for the way worse. Not to say that the EX version is completely bad, however, it makes me wonder why the EX version exists at all. Basic story here is the same as it was in the original. You are A.R.E.S., a robot called in to check out a disturbance within the deep space reprocessing station after an asteroid hit the station. Well, there was a gas in it named Zytron that takes over machines and have caused the boss on the planet to become violent, trapping the scientists and humans on the base. You have to rescue them. There's something special in the plot here. It's a sci-fi type of plot that really just drives home that you robot, you save things, K thanks bye. However, there have been upgrades to the cutscenes and story that are definitely an upgrade over the old game. New art, new cutscenes, and a semi-changed up story. That was appreciated even if the plot wasn't the focal point in the game. Again though, nothing groundbreaking. The art style is nice as it presents a nice artistic aesthetic, and it is one of the strengths of the game. However, to me it's not much of an upgrade over the original game. You notice it here and there when you're looking closely, but to me all in all it's basically the same. I believe the game has been ported into a different engine considering the lack of credit for the big red ball in the intro for the EX version, so it is to note that it is in a different environment yet staying with the same art style. Sound is done alright, there's some catchy music, although for me it started to wear on me as it went along. Usually the music in these games click with me, but here I was having trouble really getting into it. It's good, and probably better than what I make it sound out to be. Let's get to the meat of it though, the gameplay. To call it a Mega Man shooter would be a slightly correct comparison, but not exactly accurate. It feels Mega Man-esque, as you go through the stage killing bots with various guns that you have collected in your journey, with each gun having its own strength in some way. There's unlimited ammo for these guns as well. You get 4 in all, and each one is situational and can make combat and platforming complex. Sort of. For example, you'll have a gun that fires rapidly but does a little damage. It's good for taking on small enemies or during battles where accuracy is less needed and more mobility is needed. The wave gun can pass through walls but has a short range. But the problem with the wave gun is simple. At times it's overpowered compared to the rest. Especially when traversing the level, you'll find that the wave gun is simply better in a lot of ways, and because of a point that I'll allude to later on. Platforming is where A.R.E.S. EX gets weird and a little bit problematic. Here's the thing, I swear to God that the platforming is more difficult in the EX version, although I can't figure out exactly what's different. I went back and forth between the two versions trying to figure it out. I don't know what it is. It feels like there's more resistance in jumping in the EX version or less room for error. What really made me think this was the third level. We're being chased by a spider-like robot up a series of platforms. I walked away from the EX version twice trying to get up this maze, as one missed platform or jump usually resulted in immediate death, and it would seem that my jump would get me caught or screwed up in the oddest of spots. That's what really prompted me to re-download the original version and play it again. And playing it again, I had no trouble like I did in the EX version. Now granted, I had just spent an hour attempting the jumps and so I was used to them, but I found myself seemingly with a lot more leeway than in the EX version. Actually, there's a bigger problem than that, which is a major problem with this game. The jump sometimes just doesn't jump. I had this confirmed by a second person, my sister, but at times the controls just didn't work, specifically with the jump button. In a platformer, that's a huge problem, and the thing is, this isn't a problem in the original game. I would have swore I was crazy in this, but after doing the research and then having another person confirm it, I'm safe to say that something fell off in this version. Controls have been switched up in this version and some main game mechanics as well. There's a horizontal and vertical dash that's specified in the EX version that adds some complexity. The original version had something along the lines of the horizontal version, but it definitely has changed here, probably for the better. Like I just alluded to, at times I feel like I didn't have control over the character that I wanted. In particular with the jumping, at times it's where I'd jump and seemingly make the jump only to fall just short. Something's been changed here, and yet when attempting to do jump tests between the two games, you seemingly jump the same height and distance. However, it may have something to do with boundary detection, as I really noticed the problem when attempting to make jumps into holes or etc. Firing is done directionally if you have a controller. You're going to want to use a controller, and sometimes it asks you to be really precise with your firing if you don't want to take damage. Some of the angles in the level design feel off, where I need to pinpoint precision in firing to hit an enemy that will damage me if I try to jump onto its platform. Hence the wave gun. It goes through walls, and therefore is probably the gun you want to choose. This game really feels like Mega Man more than anything due to the fact that you're going to take damage. Yeah, sure, you can hop, you can jump, and shoot the crap out of things, but sooner or later, you're going to get hit. And fighting enemies does work for a little while. It can get annoying, especially with the fact that you can get a half of your life bar drained really quickly if you're not careful. The invulnerability time when you get hit is very short, and sometimes you don't have the means to get out of the area right away in a lot of time. You remember Mega Man's health bar? Sometimes it felt like there wasn't a lot, but that's because you took a lot of hits. You had to make a lot of mistakes to die. Mistakes that were easy to make, but mistakes nonetheless. Here you can make one mistake and be in half of your health already. But don't worry, you have a power you get early on that you can regain health at the cost of your currency. Which is another problem I have. You see, the original game had this too, but it was that you had to craft a health pack and then use it. You craft 4 packs, you get 4 packs, and you have a number on your screen indicating how many you have. Here you just hit a button and it automatically uses your currency to regain health. Seems like an improvement, right? I'd actually would completely disagree. Yeah, it's like crafting a pack in the menu in the original game and then using it right away. But here's the thing, I had to actually craft it and look at my resources. I could make a bunch of packs, and it did make me think about using a pack when I saw how many packs I had left and how much health I had. That doesn't exist here, and I think it takes away from the management portion of the game. But I can't hold it against it. It streamlines the process, so I guess it's an improvement? No, for me, it feels like the game took a step backwards in game design. The in-game enemy changes also take a hit on the game. The enemy variety in the original game was alright, but I'm asking myself why some of the changes were made for this version. Let's take the robotic dog enemy, for example. In this game, for some odd reason, they made it so that when it explodes, the dog's head goes flying at you. This didn't happen in the original game, and the thing that could be really crappy about this is that in some environments, it's really hard to see the projectile coming at you. Think about all the other weapons in the game, the laser fire. They are distinct, they are vibrant, and then you have the dog's head, which you can hopefully see and dodge in time. I asked myself, why change this in particular? To give the people who played your game before a different challenge? Why not add a new enemy of some sort? Oh, they seemingly did, of course, one that I hate. A slug-like enemy that just does nothing really and hugs the ground. Why do I hate this? Because of the color scheme. It blends into the ground rather naturally, and I've got no way to tell that there's something there, and that can be devastating, especially during a part where you're severely damaged and can take only one hit. Oh, and in the dark as well. Again, it's a question of why add this element to the game. All it does in my mind is to frustrate. It doesn't add a new challenge of any sort that other bites didn't provide, so why do it? Enemy placement changes that I also question. In particular, one room sticks out that had an electrical floor. In the original version, you had bots spawning on your sides, and you had room to maneuver and fight them. But in this version, you have 2 big bots spawn on both sides, as well as a gun bot above you. You can't move, you're forced to stay in position, hopefully outfire your enemy while taking as little damage as possible. It's decisions like this where I question, what was wrong with the first portion? Why did that not work? The game made me feel like I was going to take damage no matter what. It was a matter of how much little damage I would take, and considering the older game, that just didn't work for me. So what did they add in this version that was worth anything? Well, they added another character to play as. Okay, good. That really should give the value I was looking for, except he plays relatively the same. Honestly, he has differences, such as his super attack being more of a buff more than anything else, but honestly, other than that, he plays relatively the same way. Granted, I didn't play as much as I did as the original characters, so take that with a grain of salt, but to me, it felt like just a new skin, and something I wasn't all too interested in. So you can start to see my dilemma here. This game starts to feel like an inferior version of the original, that someone had some changes in mind, and some of them work okay. Just for reference, I replayed a couple of levels from the original, and I seemingly enjoyed them a lot more. It felt a lot more in my control and a lot more fair than its new counterpart. It felt like old Mega Man. The bottom line is this, A.R.E.S. EX does some things better than the original, but in my opinion it does a lot more things worse. Given the cost you would have to pay, I think it makes a lot more sense to wait until a Steam sale and then possibly buy the original game. As for the EX's case, the changes here to me don't justify the new game as I prefer the original. It comes down to opportunity cost, and I think it just doesn't stand up. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have a chance, leave some feedback and comments below. If you liked the video, hit that like button. And if you want more content like this, hit that subscribe button. This is Dragonix signing off, hoping that gaming brings as much fun to you as it does for me.